receive that much oil for free, they won't develop their own water. It would be like gold. We would get 500 billion euros a year for free suddenly. Well, everyone will just start getting their hands into the state troll. And so I followed an electric car from the same impulse as you, Shai. This is really by far the most exciting development of all. If only because I see an Israeli with a tire.
I can figure it out.
Yeah. There are two countries in the East where they don't have tires, Iran and Israel. It's wonderful. Thank you for not doing a PowerPoint. I was told it's now illegal in the American Army to use a PowerPoint because you don't interact with the audience. And you were talking about leadership, creativity, and I would also like to talk a little bit about you as a mensch. And so I was just really curious whether you had done any sports when you were young.
All Israelis play soccer.
That's right.
They all imagine that they will one day play for a Dutch team. They're all big fans of Holland.
That's right.
As you know, we were all crying when Holland lost in 1974.
We still are.
We still are. And we all cried again in 1978.
Yeah, right there. What was your position in the team when you were a soccer player?
I was the victimized kid.
Right, you were a goalie.
No,
All right.
I was very personal. I skipped the class when I was very young. When I was 8 years old, a car hit me. It happened again at 18, 10 years later. So I got hit by a car twice in my life. This is my vendetta. But because I skipped the class, I was always the smallest kid, which means I was just lucky to be on the team. And if the ball hit me in the head, they usually started laughing. And
All right. Yeah. Okay, so that's part. Anything else hit you? And did you have a nickname?
no, Shai is very short, so you don't get anything.
Yeah, because I can imagine you exude energy and intelligence, eloquence, and also irony, which is quite an unusual combination. And were you born with this? Did you develop it?
I was told from a very young age that I'm way too eloquent for my own good, which usually got me into trouble. Israelis are very direct, much like the Dutch, and I was very, very fast with my tongue, and so I would tell people exactly what I thought about them, which still happens to me with car executives. I sort of come in and I tell them that their company is dead. It's just a question of time until they realize, and when they do, it will happen under their watch. That's the kind of eloquence that gets you in trouble.
Yeah, it must. And so, was it, who taught you that?
What?
Because I'd like to learn that too.
Too eloquent for my own good?
Yeah, to be so charismatic.
I think charismatic part happened when I realized that I have nothing to lose. At 28, my business was on the brink of bankruptcy, and I had 4 businesses. I started 4 businesses, and over a period of about 48 hours, every single contract we had was taken away. We had a software house, and it was absolutely random events, 5 absolutely random events, and then we found ourselves 2 weeks before bankruptcy. The moon was full, and my mind, when the moon is gone, so goes the company. By the 2 weeks later, we raised $800,000. This is the sort of the dream come true Silicon Valley story. We raised $800,000 from 15 different individuals. A year and a half later, we sold the company to Jan Bond for $110 million.
All right. So you made it.
And 3 years, and 3 years later, Jan Bond sold it to SAP for $400 million. So he made profit too, which is a lot to say. And at that point in time in my life, I realized I've either got a great guardian angel watching me, or I got nothing to lose. And so I became sort of, I would tell people whatever I thought. If that's the way to go, that's the way to go, and I'll tell you as it is. And it was very refreshing, especially in a very large German company, to have a guy that comes up and says, you know, you can't scare me because if you fire me right now, there's a bottle of champagne waiting for that moment. And I'm here to make change. I'm here to make something happen. And I think that sort of led me to that moment where President Barris asked me, and he's a great manipulator, the mensch part, he uses Jewish guilt as the most leveraged tool you can apply. And when I came to him and said, you know, here's what the Prime Minister said, and I forgot to tell that before, he basically said, all right, so you're going to do it? And I said, no, it's a government agency. I've written the paper as a government agency, not thinking this is going to be a corporation. I got a job to do. I'm going back to be the CEO. And he said, look, it must be a really important job that you would do it instead of saving your country and saving the world. So can you explain to me what that job is? That was 3 days before I quit. That's because 2 days were weekends. So when you realize that you're so lucky that, you know, at the age of 30 you basically made more money than you can ever spend. Your kids have enough money to do whatever they want. You're faced a different situation, which you basically ask yourself, so what do you do with all this? What do you do with the sort of the education, the exposure, the world you've been in, the fact that, you know, I ran a multinational effectively at such a young age. But I was still young enough to go and be bold to jump off a building without my wings, because they were property of SAP, so they took away the laptop. And I was hoping my own personal wings will open up before I hit the ground.
Since then, what has surprised you most?
The cynicism of people. I mean, we all know. We all say, well, you know, if there's a solution, somebody's got to do it, and if we find something good, we really need to support it, and we say all these good things until it comes to a point where it wasn't you who came up with the idea. And the cynicism is just incredible. You know, you come in and you say, well, we're going to do this, and you find people who go, oh, you're doing it for the money. I say, well, not really, but it will make money because it's important to bring in other people money. So you're not really solving emissions. You're just pushing them to the power plant. I said, well, it actually does solve them. Well, you know, you're not going to have more than Renault. And if people become cynical about the stupidest things, in a sense, that instead of coming up and saying, I can see a vision that goes 5 years out, 10 years out, and in the beginning, it has to evolve. You know, the first MP3 player wasn't the iPod we see today. But you have to see 10 years out to understand the inevitability of change. And Sony was, for the better part of 3 or 4 years, telling the world that CD players are so much better than MP3 players. It brought them to be sort of 0.5% of the market share 10 years later. Cynicism and skepticism are evil tools that we as humans have to let go when we see a change, especially when it's such a big social change. We got to let go of these tools.
How do you tackle the temptation of cynicism in yourself?
Cynicism is a bit like the devil. It sounds true. It's not it. And it's hard. I'll tell you the example. For example, when we started, we were always told you're going to be a monopoly. Or you're trying to lock the market for electric vehicles, right? The entire market for electric vehicles. When we came up, 2 years later, after we've shared every single part of our plan about 5,000 times in different newspapers, still nobody's come up and do the same plan. So it's kind of funny. And we don't have a monopoly. We don't have a single exclusive agreement on any